Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Axel and Friends podcast. My name is Axel Blaze, back again with yet another episode. And in today's episode, a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, and one that has been increasingly relevant since last year with its particular boom. In today's episode of the Axel and Friends podcast, we are going to be talking about the world of physical manga buying. And like I said, something very near and dear to my heart. I love buying and collecting physical volumes of manga. You guys have seen it on my shelves in various videos. You've seen it in various videos of me showing off my manga hauls and whatnot. And for those of you that are part of the Discord, we like to share our manga hauls all the time. So, in today's episode, joining me for it to discuss more about the world of manga buying, the communities and whatnot involved in it, we've got Robert, father of Vash, from Dad Needs to Talk podcast. Robert, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, Axel. Thanks for having me. Very honored to be part of the podcast and part of this discussion. Because much like you, physical manga buying, while I'm more on the newer end of it, it has very quickly become very near and dear to my heart as well.
Absolutely. It's like I said, well, it's been a big part of a lot of people's experience like since last year. Like
hmm
2020 was the year. Well, obviously a pandemic happened, so people
Yeah.
were exploring all kinds of hobbies and whatnot, and manga buying was definitely one of them. Um, so, I mean, that being said, I'm going to be very interested in hearing a lot of your takes, especially as someone that is on the newer side of things compared to
hmm
me, who's not that I'm on the old side of things. I'm somebody that like my own personal journey to collecting manga started about 4 or 5 years ago, and
hmm
like I had manga, like some books and whatnot from like my childhood. Well, not so
hmm
much childhood, but teenage years. But
Yeah.
like that I still had in my collection and whatnot. But I didn't get serious about it until 4 or 5 years ago. But I've
hmm
learned, some tricks to the trade and whatnot, and kind of where to look for certain things. Um, and I've watched some of your videos as well, and like listening to you talk about like some of the locations and whatnot that you've gone to. Um, so I'm excited to kind of share some of this stuff with the listeners and whatnot, especially for those that are interested in buying more manga for themselves or whatnot, um, or at least the
hmm
ones they can get their hands on. Because
Yes.
oh my god, it's for some stuff it has been incredibly challenging. And I'm not even necessarily
hmm
talking about the old stuff, but like the new stuff has
hmm
been bad.
Yes.
Like have you, on your end, what has your experience been with like uh getting certain manga? Cuz I know I've had my share.
Yeah. So for me, okay, so I guess I'll kind of start a little bit behind. I guess I'll kind of like take a step back a bit if you don't mind, and be kind
Absolutely.
of like explaining like how I kind of got started into physical manga buying. So in general, I've been reading manga since I was in high school myself, but it was just online, digitally, or whatever. But I started my podcast, which, as you said, Dad Needs to Talk. I started that March of this year, 2021. And so one thing I did within like that first month of me doing it was I went and bought my first couple physical manga volumes, and those two were 20th Century Boys Perfect Edition Volume 1 and then Vinland Saga Book 5.
Mhm.
Now, the reason why I started with 20th Century Boys was because so I watched Monster, which is made by the same
Yes.
creator
Mhm.
as that series. So I watched that last year, fell in love with it, and just hearing like, hey, all these other series that he had. And so 20th Century Boys has been one that I've been wanting to get into so bad for years, but I don't know why. Like every time, I would find it online, and I would get maybe like part way, barely scratch the surface on the first chapter, and then I would just lose interest or just whatever. It just wasn't holding my attention. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna physically buy it as a way to kind of like hold myself accountable. Of like, hey, I have now spent money on this thing. It is now in my physical presence. I need to at least give it at least this one. If I read this one book and it doesn't, I don't feel it, that's fine. But I need to give it a honest shot.
Right.
And so that's kind of what began my journey. And so I have been buying a mix of older stuff like like Twin City Boys, as well as some of the newer stuff. So the kind of like limit I've set on myself, because for one, I don't have too much space at the moment because live in an apartment, got 5 kids, married, so not a lot of space to work
Yeah,
with.
no. You are working with borrowed space.
Yes. So the at least like for now, the limit I kind of set myself on was like ideally I'm not going to buy physical copies of stuff that I'm already reading on like Shonen Jump, for example. So like One Piece, My Hero, stuff like that I've already been reading for years. I'm not going to physically collect them, at least not yet. Um, just because I already know like how many volumes, like One Piece, we're talking where what volume 100 is about to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the other ones are well into 20, 30 volumes, whatever. So that was kind of like my early parameters of like, okay, hey, let's try to at least start small. And yeah, and so yeah, from there I've run into maybe a couple of times to where I've wanted something and couldn't find it, but it also wasn't like super hard for me to eventually get it, because honestly, like, so with me and the physical manga buying, I enjoy the, I guess for like a better term, I enjoy the chase, I enjoy the hunt.
Yes. I agree with you
And
there.
yes, and so with that, there's some stuff to where it's like, okay, I could order it off of Amazon or BarnesandNobles.com, whatever online store, and just have it shipped to me within a couple of days. But I'm like, where's the fun in that? I'm like, I want to be able to go around to the different stores or whatever, which I guess I'll say, because I live within the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a overabundance of places for me to go manga shopping. So I know, so that kind of, I think that also kind of helps shape my buying habits, because I know a lot of people, might live in an area where it's like, hey, the nearest bookstore to me is like, 2 hours away or whatever. So I know, some people like the only option they have is to, just order online and go from there. Whereas, but for me, I have literally probably like 5 or 6 places within like a 15 to 30-mile radius around me in all directions. So for me, I literally pass by like 4 places on my way home between, because I have a 45-minute commute from work to home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I pass by probably like a handful of places just during that drive alone. And so usually it's like, okay, if I don't find one here, it's probably going to be at one of the others, more than likely. But yeah, there has been like a couple of times here and there recently where something has kind of been out of my reach for a little while, but but eventually I think I've more or less been able to get my hands on everything that I've been wanting to so far. So yeah.
I was gonna say you're in Texas, which means that you are literally in like the heart of half
Hmm.
price book country. Like half price
Yes.
book is like based in Texas, and there are more half price books locations in Texas than like any other state. Like I consider myself lucky in Wisconsin to have like two half price books in my immediate vicinity and four if I drive up to Madison. But like
Yeah.
Texas has them everywhere. And like I oh my god, I can only imagine like the potential abundance of things down there, because I mean, like, depending on where you go, for sure, like the manga selection will vary wildly, and it also, like, it all depends on like what people bring in to
Hmm.
sell secondhands themselves. So like you'll have times where like there's just a drought of things that is not worth your time, and then
Hmm.
there are other times where it's just like, well, I just found this rare book that I never expected to find here at all. It's crazy. um I will
Yes.
say it your story is very interesting too, because it's runs very counter to a lot of my things with manga buying.
Hmm.
So like
Hmm. Hmm.
I do not help. I do not hold myself accountable to reading the manga that I buy, and that's not a good thing. And I mean, that's partly why I've gotten to 617 books in my library.
Yeah.
On top of that, I am not living in a permanent residence myself. I am looking to home buy, so I am not
Hmm.
looking forward to moving all my bookshelves and the sheer mass of books that is going to be going. And that's the 617 is not including any of my comic books. It is not
Oh
including
yeah.
any of my like other fiction and nonfiction stuff.
Hmm.
Like, oh
Hmm.
my god. And that's also why I'm hiring a moving company, because I'm not dealing with this all by myself. Dear God, no. Um, but
I
like,
definitely do not blame you.
no, I right. And I a lot of the stuff that I do buy is
Hmm.
stuff that I've already read online. Um
Hmm. Hmm.
and stuff that I'm like currently reading as well. And like part of that for me, I don't have kids yet myself. That is
Hmm.
definitely in the plan
Hmm.
within the next however many years here.
Yeah.
But part of my goal with getting the library that I am building is having a library for my friends and family for
Hmm.
years to come. So
Oh yeah.
obviously, I want to vet I want to vet the stuff that I am buying. So
Oh yeah.
more often than not, the stuff that I am buying is stuff that has already been on my radar, and or
Hmm.
things that like I've already read, so that like when I choose to reread them, which I love rereading certain things, like I'll
Hmm.
enjoy what I have on my shelves. There is still certain things that like I will buy that I never thought I would get into.
Yeah.
But like otherwise, like that is definitely where I run counter. Um and I will say, at least, so as someone that has been buying uh like new books as well as used books,
Hmm.
um because of the whole manga boom that happened
Hmm.
and the anime booms for certain things, um honestly, like two at least of the newer manga that have been harder to get than anything else, especially like back copies at certain points, were
Hmm.
Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man.
Hmm.
Like I
Yeah.
specifically remember with Chainsaw Man, like with volumes 2 and 3 just like going up in smoke, and like you having to
Hmm.
wait for weeks for back orders and whatnot. Same thing happened with Jujutsu Kaisen, more so. And like Jujutsu Kaisen had
Hmm.
multiple volumes already out, and so many people were just buying them up, and like just causing like this massive back order. The same thing
Yeah.
happened to like Hell's Paradise, Jigo Kuraku for like volume 1.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but it's nice at least that they're getting reprints, because obviously with the older books that is most definitely not the case. And
Yeah, for sure.
I have been seeing, like, I'm not part of any manga communities myself in terms of manga
Hmm.
buying and whatnot. Like I said, outside of like my own Discord server, like where like we have people that like share pictures and whatnot of what they get on like a
Hmm.
weekly,
Hmm.
monthly basis. But like I've heard stories of people that are trying to get like older things, like various copies of Slam Dunk, Monster,
Mm,
20th Century Boys, limited edition runs of things like before they got reprinted into not necessarily as great paperback copies or things like that, or vice versa, where like
mhm.
there are newer versions that are hardcover and they're hard to get. And like I know Slam Dunk is one of the ones that like people are like, yeah, I can get my hands on like everything a Slam Dunk except for like volume X, Y, and Z that are getting
Yeah.
sold for like 10 to 20 times the cost online. Um, I've seen it with, well, for me, like two of the hardest ones for me to get were like Shaman King with its original run,
Oh yeah.
and then even worse, Rave Master by Hiro Mashima that
Mm,
was printed
yeah.
by Tokyo Pop. Like,
Hmm.
oh my god, it gets hard. Like I was able to finish my Shaman King original run because I randomly found like this one like comic book website from I don't even know. I could have been like North Carolina or something. I don't even remember. But they randomly had new copies of like the original Shaman King run, and I bought like
Hmm.
10 of them. And I was just like, I'm not gonna get this lucky again. I have
Yeah.
seen how much old copies were running people online. Like I
Hmm.
hit the jackpot, but like for Rave Master, that has not been the case. Like, again, speaking to like the half price book side of things, like
Hmm.
there was like an extremely beat copy of Rave Master that I eventually bought, and it was being
Yeah.
sold for like like $10, which for some people is just like $10. That's nothing. It's just like yeah, but like compared to the fact that like a regular regular books at half price books are sold for half price.
Yeah.
Like if that were in good condition, that book would have been selling for 20, 30, $40 plus.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because again, some of these Rave Master volumes are just so freaking hard to find. Or it well, a mix of hard to find and or people are just selling them for outrageous prices online.
Yeah.
Um but people
Are
are
you
buying it.
are you still looking for some of the Raymaster stuff?
Yes. So as it is right now, because I've got my handy dandy Excel spreadsheet of series that I have, just so I don't rebuy things. Because that was my other issue.
Oh yeah.
Before I had like my running list of things,
Hmm.
I I accidentally like bought additional copies of series like Bleach and
Hmm.
DN Angel. I accidentally
Hmm.
bought like duplicate copies, so never again, never running into that again. For Rave Master, it is very out of order here, but I've got volumes 1 through 10, volume 15, volumes 18 through 20, volume 22, and volume 29. And I want to say with Rave Master, it has like after like the final double volume that got printed like a couple years ago,
Hmm.
like it's got 30 some volumes. So I still have like half of the series to go.
Okay.
And I have been getting very lucky finding the copies that I have through
Hmm.
half price
Hmm.
books in physical locations, but I am very hesitant to go online because like the difference between in-store half price books and
Hmm.
online half price books is a very different beast entirely with price points. Like, oh my god.
Yeah, I wanted to mention real quick because with you talking about half price books and stuff, whatever. First of all, I didn't even know that they were, or well, maybe I knew this years ago, but maybe I just forgot or whatever. But I didn't know that they were like home based out of Texas. Um, but I pulled up my handy dandy map, and so here within the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, I count we have about 13
Yeah,
half price books.
yeah, that sounds about right. Like,
Yeah, which. which honestly I didn't even know until like a few weeks ago that we had that many because um there was one I passed by at uh I think when I was like either like living in my old apartment or something, like there was one I passed by, and that's just the one I've always gone to over the year, the last few years or whatever since I found it. I go through like maybe like a few times a year, if that. And then I have a friend uh who also does a anime and manga podcast that also stays up here in the Dallas area. She goes to a bunch of half price books or whatever, and she mentioned one that she was like, "Yeah, I'm just kind of hitting a bunch of different stores," and I was like, "Oh, okay, there's multiples," and so I was like, "Oh, duh, Robert, let's look at the map," and then I see all these, and there was even what like one, like three more of them like around my house, like from where I stay at or whatever. So yeah, so that was like a welcome surprise for me today. I was like, ooh, yay, more places for me to go and explore. And that might be something I might touch on a little bit more in a minute, but because uh I actually went by two of them today for the first time. I was like, you know what, I'm out and about. I want to go explore. So I actually went by two of them today and I actually picked up at least something that I feel like is a rare find. Just because which I guess if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and mention what it is.
Oh,
But
absolutely. I'm
before I
I'm
forget,
too curious. Like, please do.
yeah. Okay, so it's a series called. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Emanon
Emanon.
Wanderer. Amanon Wanderer.
Yes.
This is it's part one, volume two.
Oh my gosh. Manga Crash, one of my other YouTube friends, would probably be geeking out over the fact that you actually found an Emanon book. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
no.
this one's honestly in like super good. Like it honestly looks. Cause I'm flipping through right now, looking at the cover. It's like there's no bends, no scuffs. It looks brand new, like somebody just like took it out the plastic and just like sold it.
Mm-hmm.
And this I found this one at the first new location I had went to today. As I do, just browsing through, just seeing what's there, and then the cover of it so beautiful that it was like, okay, I need to know what this is. And so usually what I do as I'm out and about, anytime I come across something that I don't know what it is of course, thanks to the power of technology, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just pull out my phone. And so, I'll just kind of do like a couple of quick Google searches as far as like, I kind of like the few things I kind of do up front is, I'll look at it. I try to hopefully find like a Wikipedia or something that has like a good account of the series as far as like, okay, who's the author? Maybe it's the author of something from something, from another series that I maybe am aware of. And I also kind of look at, what the state of the series is. Like, okay, is this a few volumes? Is this, 50 volumes? And things like that, because that also kind of helps me kind of gauge, as far as like, okay, is this something I really want to dive into? If it's like, okay, this is only like a handful of volumes, then okay, maybe, that might give me, at least like I said, for me and like how my space limitations are at the moment. Okay, it's maybe like a handful of volumes. That's doable. And like, okay, the premise sounds good. Maybe, the author has done something else that I'm a fan of or whatever. And so I kind of take a few of those things into account, when I'm kind of buying stuff. Because like this, for example, at least as far as I could find from the research I did, there's only like a handful of these in the series. So I'm like, okay, it looks cool. It sounds like the synopsis sounds interesting. And then I'll also just search around just like on YouTube and Twitter, just see like, okay, like how many videos for this might pop up, or just like, how often has there been discussions about this on Twitter, and just like kind of like get like a general vibe as far as like people like, oh yeah, I love this thing, or man, that was trash, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so that's kind of like how I approach some of this stuff, especially for something like this where I've never seen it before.
Right.
It's like okay, this is something new and unknown. The synopsis sounds good, but let me, like I said, I just kind of just like check the temperature with other people versus with some newer series that I kind of got into this year that, well, I guess they kind of just started the English releases this year, like Zom 100.
Mm-hmm.
I think Volume 3 just came out, yeah, in August because I got all
Yes.
3 volumes so far. And so that was one where it's like, okay, it's new, but because of how new it is, I've seen more recent talk about it because a lot of either influencers or press or whoever that might do like reviews and stuff, whatever for it. Something like Viz or Yen Press or whoever send people out these boxes of manga, and so sometimes I've seen like quick flashes of certain series, within those collections and stuff for it. So that's where I saw Zom 100 was somebody that I follow. Was like, hey, thanks Viz for sending me this little care package or whatever. And that was like one of the many things in the box. I'm like, okay, it's on my radar at least. And then, as I'm out and about, I come across oh yeah, that one person had it, and I kind of, just kind of go from there. But yeah, this yeah, Amanon, like I said, it was one I definitely had to pick up because yeah, like I said, just from the general synopsis of it, it looked, like I said, the cover of it looked freaking beautiful. And just like the little bit I could tell on it or whatever, this was kind of at least what I would call a rarer find. It was definitely one of those ones where it's like I'm not going to, you know what, I'll sleep on it and come back type of thing. 'Cause more like this probably wouldn't be there.
Oh yeah, no, I've had those moments where I've done that and I regret it. Like, how out of curiosity, how much did you end up paying for it? Was that like one of the ones where like they had like a hefty cost on it, or did you actually get
Nope.
it for half
It
price?
was, yeah, I got it for half price. It was
Wow.
let me see. I got the receipt right here. Let me see. $8.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you looked out there. God, the one purchase I regret not making more than any other was that there was
Mhm.
this one time at one of the half price books I was at where they had like 6 or 7 volumes of Vinland Saga available,
Ooh.
and my girlfriend and I had passed them up, and I was just like, to this day, I'm just so upset with myself over that because it's just like they were there, and like, yes, I could buy them now, but like for like
Yeah.
regular price or for a slightly discounted price depending on where you buy, but like
Yeah.
I could have gotten them for half price. So just
Yeah.
uh so like, and that's really the thing, is that like sometimes with this stuff you just kind of gotta pull the trigger and
Hmm.
honestly ask the question like, all right, is this going to be here the next time that I shop here? Or is this even going to still be here by the end of the day? Because
Hmm.
again, with how many people are out buying manga right now, like there is no guarantee that things are going to stay where they are for a long time. Um
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
also doing a check here. Texas has 43 half price books locations throughout the entire state. 43.
That's
Like,
crazy.
jeez. Like, that is absolutely like, again, like, I'm in Wisconsin. We have 5 throughout the entire state. Like, I am super lucky that I live close by enough for 2, and I guess I can go up to Madison for 2 other ones.
Yeah.
But Texas has 43 freaking half price books. Um, like, and there are other states that like have like a good number of them too. Like, it looks
Hmm.
like Ohio is the next most after Texas. Illinois has a good amount too. They're still spreading to like new states that they haven't been to before. Like, they're saying on the website how there's now a new one in Nashville, Tennessee, and a new one in Boise,
Hmm.
Idaho. Um, I'm kind of surprised that there are only 5 in California. Like, you would feel like there would maybe be more there,
Yeah.
but I guess there's not. There's also none in Florida, and well, that makes sense. That makes sense. I wouldn't want to run a bookstore in Florida with all the hurricanes and whatnot. Dear God, no.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
But
That's funny.
yeah, they're such a valuable resource for buying things. Again, when they're stocked, at least, because like
Yeah.
it's like at one of my locations for half price books, and they've got it in like the comic book section as well. Um,
Hmm.
they used to have like three full bookshelves of manga in that
Hmm.
section, and it's
Hmm.
been dwindled down to one at this point, and even then that's kind of like iffy.
Yeah.
um and like depending on where you go, that can be similar and whatnot. So
Hmm.
that is definitely
Hmm.
unfortunate. But I do make it a habit of going whenever I can, just to, again, in the off chance that somebody dropped off something interesting, and being there for it. um
Yeah.
the
Actually,
Go
oh,
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Uh, I was just gonna mention just real quick because because talking about rare finds or whatever. So it made me remember because I had set it up here next to me just in case if I wanted to talk about it. There was another one I had got few weeks back or whatever at the half price books that I've been going to for years or whatever. Um, this one is called Bus Gamer, the Pilot Edition. Um, it is a single volume. It's by the creator of Sayuki, and it seems like once again from the research I did, it was I guess it was the start of a series that was about to start, but they only got 11 chapters in before the magazine that it was being printed in went under or closed or whatever happened. And so from the little bit that I read online was like, the author had talked about for years, like, yeah, he's going to continue it, somewhere else or whatever. But hey, here we are in 2021 and it still hasn't happened. But yeah, like even, yeah, just stuff like this of like, okay, this kind of like one-off thing that somebody did and it got canceled or cut short, I guess you could say. um was another pretty cool find, and this was like another I got for like $6 or something or whatever. But yeah, that's definitely been like another thing about with half price books that I've liked because it's been a mix of um some modern stuff, but a lot of times like a lot of like older stuff, at least like the ones that I've been to in my area, because it's like sometimes I look at it and like, some stuff you can look at the cover and tell like, okay, yes, this is from, you know, the 80s, the 90s or
Mm-hmm.
early 2000s or whatever. Because that, because as I'm talking, there's one I probably should have picked up recently. I found they had a couple of copies of the original Astro Boy
Mm.
um manga, and I was like, I stood down and looked, and I was like, oh no, I don't know, but I I probably wouldn't have really even read that one or whatever because I uh know of Astro Boy whatever and watch the show and stuff a little bit, but no, I've never like super dove into it. But hey, that might have been a opportunity.
Right.
But
I mean,
so sorry, yeah.
no. Osamu Tezuka's artwork is very polarizing. Like there are people that
Hmm.
like they will embrace that old aesthetic, and then there are other ones that just
Hmm.
won't. But I, at the end of the day, you kind of got to do what you want to do.
Oh
And
yeah.
like if you sweat the small stuff too much, like you just sweat too many things, and like they're,
Oh yeah.
especially when there's so much out there. But you are right, like the vast majority of the time, like a lot of the stuff that they will have there will be the older stuff.
Hmm.
They,
Hmm.
depending on like what kind of book shipments they can get and whatnot, they do also occasionally sell new books, for like
Hmm.
a slightly discounted price. Like I was able to get um like some of the newer issues of One Punch Man,
Hmm.
My Hero Vigilantes, My Hero
Hmm.
Academia itself. So, and like they also have like out of order like Fruits Basket books as well for like the new series, or
Yeah.
the newer editions, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like you definitely get some interesting finds here and there. Um,
Hmm.
for me
Hmm.
personally, like at least in terms of like my half price books finds, um, I have found very interesting like first volumes of things. Like
Hmm.
I managed to find the first volume of G Gundam, and I was just like,
Hmm.
G Gundam had a manga? What? Like, so that was really neat. This wasn't from a half price books, but from another used bookstore. I found the first
Hmm.
two volumes of the Spawn manga as
Oh,
well,
nice.
which never thought I would see that again in any
Yeah.
capacity. And then there was this other time where I just got a massive haul of the gag series Sergeant Frog. And I was just like, holy cow,
Ooh.
who is unloading like over 13 volumes of Sergeant Frog? Like,
Oh yeah.
insane. But like again, it's one of those things where it's just like, you if you have the chance, like,
Hmm.
and you have used bookstores that sell manga around, it never hurts to go out and look and see what is available. Because you
Hmm.
will get things again, unless it's a special book that like is getting sold or upsold for vast amounts of money online. You can get it for a good price. um
Hmm.
but that being said, in terms of new books, the
Hmm.
sheer variety and accessibility right now is insane compared to what it
Yes.
used to be. Like you go to any Barnes and Noble or Books a Million, and they've got
Hmm.
shelves upon shelves upon shelves upon shelves of new manga series by multiple different English publishers, and it's a fantastic time to be a collector
Hmm.
with how many things are out there and how many like things are like continuing to be printed. Like we're getting
Yes.
more and more new things translated into English a lot faster than we used to.
Yes.
Especially on the Shonen Jump side of things, with how many series like Sakamoto Days being the most recent one. It
Hmm.
started out in November of last year and is already getting a spring 2022 release. Like
Yep.
that's crazy.
Yep.
And like there are other ones too. But like it's a great time to be buying new manga, except for the part
Yes.
where they're not necessarily giving us the manga sales because of how much manga is being bought.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The whole. Yeah. Yeah. Everything. Sorry. My brain is just wandering and
No,
just
you're
like,
good.
just basking in the bliss of manga right now.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man. Cause what was it? There's a Barnes and Nobles that I had been kind of going to, just like repeatedly, whatever, recently. And once again, I was like, you know what? There's of course, got to be others probably close by, whatever. And so, because I'm trying to think, what was it that's been ah I have it now, but for a while, I had been trying to hunt down Volume One of Sweat and Soap,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went to Barnes and Nobles. The time that the time that like set me up for joy, but then crushed me was a few weeks ago, or like the week before I actually got it. I wanted to. There's a Books a Million in the mall here in Grapevine Mall. Uh, that I go to all the time because that's because they have a basketball facility attached. So while my kids are at practice, hey, Dad's going to Books a Million.
Absolutely.
And so a few weeks back or whatever, it was a Thursday night. The store was practically empty, but I'm guessing Thursdays might be their restock days because it was a sight to behold. The shelves were full, like it was so full that there wasn't no books leaning over or whatever. Everything was in there nice and tight. Stuff like some stuff was still in brand new plastic wrapping, and so I'm like, oh, I guess they just restocked. Nobody else is hardly in here. This is perfect. And so I looked over, and I saw like a big long string of Sweat and Soap, and I was like, is this finally the time? And they had pretty much everything but one.
Mm.
And so, so then like a few days later, or whatever. Actually, it was that same weekend. Searched around. I found another Barnes and Noble, so I went to that one for the first time, and this one was way bigger. And the one I've been going to is a decent size, but this one was even bigger because the manga section for this was vertically way taller. Cause
Mm-hmm.
for a little bit of visualization, so I'm about 6'2" myself.
Sure.
The one I've been going to, was maybe barely coming to my, maybe to my chest.
Uh-huh.
The new one I had went to was like my full arm's length, pretty much I had to like stretch as far as I could to reach the top shelf.
Dang.
And so that's where I found volume one of Sweat and Soap, as well as some other like really cool stuff. And and I know this is different, something else. I know that we kind of touched on a little bit, but I kind of definitely wanted to bring up was just the the discoverability of finding new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I would say probably like 8 to 9 times out of 10, if I'm going in to a place, whatever, well, not kind of like a used bookstore or whatever, because that, it's just like, hey, what am I going to find?
Right.
But usually if I'm going into like a Books a Million or Barnes and Nobles, I'm probably trying to track down something specific that's like, okay, hey, okay, I want to try to get the next volume of this or whatever.
Right.
But the thing I love about that is that, okay, I go there, I go in, confirm like, okay, is the thing I'm looking for here, yes or no? If it is, I go ahead and grab it and walk around with it. uh, but while I'm there, I'm like, okay, I either confirmed or either way, if the thing I came for is here, then I go just exploring. And I don't, I would say almost every time or pretty close to every time I go, I see something new or something else maybe catches my eye that didn't last time. And that just continues to broaden my horizon of just like different stuff to try out and stuff, whatever, because just to kind of keep you from just being stuck of like, oh, I'm only reading shonen, the typical stuff, whatever. Whereas now it's like, oh, okay, I got some slice of life, I got some sci-fi stuff, I got some mystery, so on and so forth. And so that has been like a super awesome part of it, and kind of like on the point of like what I mentioned with uh Amanon earlier, like with the cover is what got my attention with that. That's what happens a lot of times with some of this other stuff too. Is like, hey, like having a good cover can go a long way. At least in getting somebody's attention for the first time. Is like, okay, oh, what is this? The cover looks interesting. And then if they can hit you with a good synopsis, then that's the the good old 1-2 punch.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of get or pull you in. Or in the case of like a Zom 100, they have crazy colorful covers, and that's what got my attention. It's like yeah, like what the characters are doing on the front is cool, but the thing that got my attention is that that bright pink
Yes.
or that bright yellow that they just did for volume 3. It's like that's what got my attention with those. It's like, whoa, what is this bright pink with green spots thing on the shelf? Oh, what is this? Okay. And I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just like been like a super awesome part of getting into this stuff. Is like, okay, not just the stuff that I'm already aware of, but just the stuff of like, man, I've never even heard of this, because I've even had some people. Uh, I think it was somebody recently on Twitter that follows me that had just I had posted something I had picked up whatever one day or something, and they were like, dude, they was like, where do you be finding this stuff? They were like, you're always posting something that I've never even heard of. And I'm like, well, that's what I love about physical manga buying, is because I'm going out exploring, and it's always an opportunity to see or to discover something new that I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't that you don't get that same experience when you're shopping online, because yeah, sometimes you might catch something in the recommended thing, but like those parameters are usually so small because usually they're recommending more volumes of the same series or maybe something from the same author or whatever, versus, oh, I'm going in for, you know, sweat and soap, but I also end up leaving with Vinland Saga, you know,
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. So yeah, yeah. So I guess like how how has that been for you, over over the years that you've been kind of you know buying physical manga stuff, for as far as yeah with you with coming across new stuff.
Sure. So I a lot of the time I'm someone that I go in usually and I've got certain things particularly on my radar. That's usually how it is. But I
Mhm.
like to look around and like look through the shelves and just kind of see, all right, is there something just interesting, or is there like something that has this just bizarre title that is super weird, and then just if it catches my eye, start to read it.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and that is definitely how I've gotten into like various series over the years. That's how I've gotten into like especially like newer series by authors that I've already read
Yeah.
previously.
Mhm.
Because like a lot of the time, and this is just kind of uh, how like the like anime YouTube, anime Twitter, manga side of things as well. Like because of the algorithm, because of what's popular and whatnot, people like to focus in on like the same 4 to 6 series. They don't like, and like on occasion, like one of the big people is like, "Oh, hey, look, I started reading such and such thing, and like this is so cool that like no one's talking about this, and I'm finally talking about it." And it's just like, yeah, some of us have been talking about it, but we just don't hit the algorithm the same. But I digress. Um,
Oh yeah.
and I've found so many various things because of that. Um,
Mhm.
I would say definitely big the biggest thing was definitely Junji Ito was getting into that for the first
Mhm.
time, because
Yeah.
that's the big thing that Viz Media loves pushing is Junji Ito and
Mhm.
his stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
And like at this time, my girlfriend and I now have 12 books from the
Ooh.
collected books and whatnot that had been printed in English, as well as the one with his cats. Because of course we had to get the one with his cats.
What's
Which
what is that? I'm not familiar with that one you're talking about.
the cat one.
Mhm.
So it's literally like him detailing his life with his 2 cats and his wife. And like it was funny,
Awesome.
like there's this like one chapter, or like after this one chapter, like there was like a discussion on it, and he was just like, my wife has never worn those pants in her life. I don't know why I drew those pants on her. And it's just like, these are the things that are just hilarious. On top of that, like Junji Ito is a super chill, nice dude, and despite that draws some of the most gruesome horror in the industry right now. It is such a just a sheer difference between the two. It's he's the anti Hayao Miyazaki, because like Hayao Miyazaki draws like all this cutesy stuff and whatnot. Not that he doesn't draw, some scary stuff
Yeah.
as well. And then he's a hard
Yeah.
ass in real life. And it's just like, oh my god, Hayao, like really, like
Yeah.
it is what it is.
That's funny.
But like I will say at the very least, I'm usually more explorative with the used manga than I am with the new manga. Again, just because more often than not, I'm specifically on the hunt for like specific things when I'm
Yeah.
looking for new manga compared to used ones, where it's just like, oh, well,
Mhm.
this looks interesting kind of deal, and I'm getting it for
Yeah.
half price. There's
Yeah.
definitely more of a hesitancy just because, again, like to an extent, manga is still cheap. by all means.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can get manga volumes for $10, $12, $15, $20, etc.,
Mhm.
depending on
Mhm.
whether it's like paperback or hardcover.
Mhm.
Although
Mhm.
that being said, some of the ones that are in that 15 or $13 to $16 range are thinner than the $10 books, so not always
Yeah.
fun. But I think what I really want to do is I want to potentially impose this challenge maybe for
Mhm.
like any Twitter, manga Twitter, of just going to like a Barnes and Noble or whatnot and leaving it up to random chance. Like
Yeah.
I along I collect a lot of shit. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Manga's not
Yeah.
the only thing. I own way too much stuff for my own good. One of those things that I own in excess is dice. So like I
Mhm.
would love to go into like a Barnes and Noble and leave it up to the dice. Like, all right, which
Oh
shelf am I
yeah.
going to? All right, I'm going to shelf 5. All right, which sub shelf of shelf
Mhm.
5 am I going to go with? All right, third shelf. All right, which book along this line here am I going to pick out? This number. All right. If it's not the
Yeah.
first volume of this, find the first volume of that book. If that first
Mhm.
volume isn't there, go to like the next series. Like
Yeah.
I think I would love to do that. And
Yeah.
again, like impose that as a kind of challenge like online just so that like people can start trying new things and whatnot.
Yes.
Because at this point in time, there really is a lot of cool stuff that nobody is talking about because of the sheer excess of how much is being printed at the moment. Like, all right, you're bummed that like there's not a new volume of like JJK, MHA, or One Piece out or whatever. All right,
Mhm.
try something new, give it a
Yeah.
shot. Because again, there really is just so much out there for people to enjoy, but a lot
Mhm.
of people put themselves in that box of, oh, I'm only reading 4 to 6 series from Shonen Jump right now, and maybe like 4 other things. It's like, come on, like you can read more than that. You're only reading these 4 to 6 series on Sunday. There
Yeah.
there are 6 other days out of the week here.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like while I've for myself, I have always been, well, let me not say always, but I would say probably like for sure like in like the last like decade, especially like since I went off to college, went through all that or whatever, got around more people and stuff, whatever. I've definitely been like like more open to more different series and stuff in general, especially like on the anime side of things. But I do feel like I was still kind of like narrowed in when it came to manga until this year, but like I said, it's not like, hey, if I watched a anime for some other genre or something that I wouldn't eventually get into the manga, but even then that's still like a small window versus in the months, that I've like been doing this whatever now, it's just like, whoa, okay, I'm seeing so much stuff as also like kind of like retroactively realizing like, okay, I've missed a lot too because there, so in my phone, I have a little what is this like a little like the little notes thing that comes installed on some phones
Mm-hmm.
where I have like a running list of manga that I come across. Like basically, if I come across a manga that looks interesting in person and I don't buy it, I at least make note of the name just for like, okay, you know what, for future reference, if like, okay, either I want to do more research on this, or just maybe like, okay, just maybe sometime down the line, where I'm like, okay, what was that one thing I saw? Oh yeah, this one, then maybe going back and getting it. And so that list pretty much grows almost every time
Jeez.
I go out. I would say it's maybe not too bad. I think maybe at least just scroll. I think maybe have like maybe like 20 to 30 books on here, which I'm kind of looking. There's some I need to check off because there's some I've actually bought uh since as I've been making this, I haven't gone back and started checking stuff off. But anywho, my point being is that just me doing the physical side of stuff has definitely kind of just like opened me up to like, okay, there's more stuff going on. And there was some stuff that I came across a while back, and I was like, whoa, what is this? I never heard of it. And like I mentioned earlier, while going to research it, kind of find out, oh, this show had an anime like 5 years ago
Mm-hmm.
that, came and went. Hey, maybe it even had 2 seasons, but it just either just went right past me or, I just didn't pay any attention to whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll look into that or, just whatever. So yeah, so it's definitely been a very interesting thing, which now you saying the dice thing, it actually put a series back in my brain of like maybe I need to go back and buy this. So there's a series I came across, and you probably heard of it called what is it, Kaji Gambling
Yes.
Apocalypse? Yes.
Kaiji
So
being like the most notorious like gambling series of like all
mhm.
time, pretty much.
Yeah, so I came across that at that new Barnes and Nobles I mentioned earlier, where I had found Sweat and Soap. Um, I saw that, and that was my first time, at least to my recollection, ever seeing that before. And then, come to find out, okay, this series has been going on since what, the 90s or before, and there's some iteration of it still going on. And oh, there was an anime, there's live action. Once again, my vision just being blown wide open. Like, hey, here's this series that apparently, at least like you said, like pretty well known, um, but just went right past me over all these years. So yeah, you mentioned about doing the dice roll thing, just made me think. I was like, maybe that's a sign I need to go back and buy that.
Maybe it's something I need to get into as well at some point. It's just
Mhm.
it's one of those things where it's just like kind of going back to like an earlier point that you made, finding out like how big of a thing is this going to become in the future,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
like again there are certain series where it's just like if you're going to start buying it, you got to be aware that you're in for 30, 40, 50 plus volumes depending on the
Mhm.
series. Like obviously one of the biggest elephants in the room, One Piece, like you also had
Yeah.
mentioned earlier, is going on its 100th volume in Japan. Like for
Mhm.
me personally, with One Piece, I have been specifically collecting that with the box sets. Like I have
Mhm.
box set 1, I have box set 3, I have continuously been waiting for a sale on box set 2 that was good enough, but I haven't yet. And then
Yeah.
box set 4 is coming out. I've also purchased box sets for 2 other series, and again, like this is why it helps to be part of certain communities to an extent online, as well as looking at different places to go. Like I got
Mhm.
Demon Slayer's box set, I think for like 40% off on Amazon. I think it might
Yeah.
have been during like it might have been during like a Prime Day sale thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
also the more miraculous one was getting the Tokyo Ghoul RE box sets, which
Mhm.
was sold out for the longest time. People were like upselling it for like double, triple the price. And that was
Yeah.
another one that when I found somebody posting about it on Twitter, I got it for like
Mhm.
30 to 40% off on Amazon. And I was just like,
Nice.
"Holy cow. This box set, which has been elusive for the longest time, I just
Mhm.
got on the best sale that I'm probably ever going to find on it." Like insane.
Yeah.
Um and I wish there were more box sets for more things, but you typically don't get them unless it's like a 20 to 80 volume series. Like I
Yeah.
we're eventually probably gonna get them for My Hero Academia,
Mhm.
probably, if I had to
Mhm.
guess. But like uh it's only been like Viz Media. I mean, I'm honestly surprised they even did it for Demon Slayer, to be fair. But like
Mhm.
you've only really seen box sets mostly for things like One Piece, Bleach, Naruto, They did one for Full Metal Alchemist back in the day. I've seen ones for Princess Jellyfish, and like a few other things. But like,
Hmm. Hmm.
I wish there was more of it because they really are a good deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's. But again, that's one of those things where it's just like I am recognizing that I'm in the long haul for these things, and I'm trying to find
Yeah.
the best ways to get them. Like I fully recognize, like I had mentioned before, I've got like I'm halfway through on Rave Master, and I've still got to get the other half of that.
Hmm.
I want to say I'm like a third of the way through collecting the Bleach manga, and I know that is going to be an uphill battle with that. Although again, it has box sets, which I could totally
Yeah.
buy. Um,
Yeah.
Shaman King was the series that I triumphed over, and I got the full original English run. Does it look
Mhm.
pretty? No. There are several copies of like the books that you would find at a library with like the laminated cover and whatnot that are part of my
Oh
collection.
yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's part of the collection. I'm
Yeah.
fine with it. Like I'm not like with a lot of my stuff, unless it's specifically being shown as a showcase thing, I don't necessarily
Yeah.
care about the quality of it as long
Hmm.
as all the pages are there. That,
Yeah.
that's my philosophy on it. Um, because more often than not, you're only seeing the spine on a bookshelf anyway, unless again you have something that's more of a showcase thing. And I have specific
Hmm.
showcase books and whatnot, and
Hmm.
volume 10 of Shaman King is not, or not like
Yeah.
volume 6 I think it is, but like yeah, and I've got other ones that like have got bends and folds and whatnot, but all the pages are there, so that's all that really matters. um
Oh yeah.
I will
Yeah. Yeah.
say the probably one of the more unique books in my collection actually is a newer book, or at least a
Hmm.
newer version. I've been getting the Full Metal editions of Full Metal Alchemist, and
Oh
I
yeah.
am how many books in? I am only 10 books in, and they're up to like 14, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think I saw 14 recently. Yeah.
right,
13 or 14. Yeah.
I bought some of the books online, and I got them
Hmm.
shipped. And my volume one of Full Metal Alchemist Full Metal Edition is actually
Hmm.
upside down. Like it is one of the funniest misprints, and I've shared it as a short on my YouTube channel as well. But
Yeah.
like it's just hilarious to me that I've got such an egregious misprint, and that in itself, again, just makes it fun. Like this
Yeah.
was a complete like crazy thing that I did not expect. I did not buy this in store, so this was just a crazy chance kind of thing, and I wonder how many other people are
Hmm.
affected by it. But like
Hmm.
again, it's that thrill of finding these things, and like it is really great. I do miss the sales from like 2019 and 2020. For people that are like just getting into the manga buying side of things now,
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble and Books a Million at various points in time would do buy two get one free sales on various manga, which is
Yep.
how I got a large part of my collection on top of the half price book stuff. And
Hmm.
I want them back, but at the same time, because I know how many people are buying manga right now, they're probably like, we don't even need it because we're just selling
Yeah.
more than we need to. But like, it still helps to be mindful of these
Hmm.
places. So again, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. I've actually got memberships to both, even though there's only like one Books a Million in Wisconsin. I regularly check out Amazon. I've
Hmm.
heard Right Stuff Anime has good sales on manga as well. I just haven't used it myself. Um,
Hmm.
but and even on the flip side, again, for the half or for the used side of things, half price books is a great option, whether you go to a physical location or online.
Hmm.
The only downside to buying online is that if you buy multiple books, you have to buy the shipping for each individual book. So at
Uh,
that point, you're not necessarily paying half price anymore because it's like $4
yeah.
shipping. But Amazon and eBay can also be good. Facebook Marketplace is, it looks like it has a decent selection every now and then, but like Facebook Marketplace is kind of weird, but it
I've
is what it is.
hmm. I haven't actually thought about checking Facebook Marketplace, but granted, I think that might also just be because of, at least like I said, like with me being where I am, it's like I have so
You
many
don't
places
need
to.
to,
Yeah,
right?
I don't need to. So yeah, cause yeah, so yeah, for me, and I do want to say so. Yeah, I also hope that they do more of those buy two get one free sales because Books a Million, at least here, whatever. What was it? End of June, beginning some June or July, somewhere this summer, whatever. They had did a buy two get one free, and I had got some stuff during that time, so that was definitely super awesome. But yeah, same thing here. So yeah, around me, I have Books a Million, Barnes and Noble, Half Price Books. I have there's a couple of Kino Kuniya stores here in DFW. I think there's two.
Oh,
There's
you've
one
got.
on,
Oh, I love Kinokuniya.
yeah.
There's one in Illinois.
Hmm.
That was how I got my hands on Japanese copies of A Gravity Boys and Hard Boiled Cop and Dolphin. I
Ooh.
specifically got them
Okay.
through there.
Okay. Yeah, that place, I'm trying to remember. I don't know, I think that I can't remember if either that place was just something I just came across when I was just, just searching on Google Maps for like, hey, manga store, or if it was somebody specifically because I'm trying to think. It might have been somebody I follow because and this is more information for any potential listeners, more so than than I'm pretty sure you probably know this word, but of course, here in Dallas, this is where Funimation is. Well,
Yep.
I follow somebody um that I've known for a while, from a anime Facebook group or whatever. She works at Funimation, and so I think one day she might have talked about um however you pronounce it, Kinokuniya. Uh, I think that's how it got on my radar because I think I might have saw her talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
and then but anywho, I looked it up and it was like this is so close. I was almost upset when I realized like how close it was to where I stay. And like I said, there's two of them up here. There's one on my side of Dallas Fort Worth, and there's one on the opposite side. But yeah, when I got together, it was just so freaking awesome. Just like being honestly, like being honest, like it partly felt like I went to like a whole different world in some aspect because it was kind of located within like a very heavily like Asian focused area.
Mm-hmm.
And so like all the restaurants, all the stores, shops, everything was like like a some type of like Asian food culture, whatever. And like 95% of the people I saw walking around were all from those various cultures. And so it was like, whoa, okay. And then stepping into that store and seeing like what you just mentioned, like Japanese copies of stuff. I don't think I've really ever maybe here and there in the past, but not in that much of abundance to where it's like, okay, there's a whole corner of the store where everything here is just in Japanese. And it was kind of cool, like I said, just getting a chance just to see it because this one series that I've had to read online because there's no there's no official English translation of it or whatever, but Kingdom, it was cool getting to see some physical Japanese copies of that series, in that store and stuff as well. But yeah, that's another place that I go to or I've been to. I've only been there that one time. Um, and then there's another place up in a little bit further out from me called Anime Pop that I used to go to. No, I haven't really been there too often recently, just because I found out about all this other stuff that's like way closer to me, and stuff. So, but yeah, Anime Pop, that's another place that I like going to as well. So actually, I probably need to go sometime this month and just go see what stuff they might have. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, just being on the hunt and coming across new stuff.
Absolutely. I will say I acquired a much greater appreciation for Kinokuniya when I went the most recent time, and actually finding out that because they are a Japanese chain with direct ties to Japan, that is how you're able to like order specific books if you want to. Like they did not have Hard Boiled Cop and Dolphin in store, but I was able to special order it from them, and I got it within like a couple weeks. Like it was super fast, and it was
Cool.
amazing. Um,
Hmm.
but that being said, I think that does segue us nicely into like the
Mhm.
last segment here of talking about manga buying communities. Um, and I'm not as familiar with it. I know certain people on Twitter and whatnot that like post certain things.
Mhm.
But what has your experience been with manga buying communities online and whatnot?
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of been more so. I guess it really kind of started like really strongly like with me getting into a lot of manga and anime podcast communities. So that's kind of where that those connections or that stuff kind of started for me. Was okay, I'm doing a podcast talking about anime and manga related stuff. I started making connections with people, within that space, and then through me listening to some of the different, the different podcasts and stuff, whatever, I'm hearing different types of series and stuff being recommended. And
Mm-hmm.
so kind of going from there, just the continued domino effect of, oh, you follow one person and then maybe they reshare a post from somebody else. It's like, oh, okay, this other person's talking about manga too. Let me follow them. And then, that's kind of how it's been going for me, is just, maybe connecting with like a couple of people and then seeing them reshare stuff from other people, and then it just kind of keeps going from there. I think for me, I had like a really big over on Instagram lately in like the last like month and a half, like that really blew up for me because 2 months ago, I think, yeah, about 2 months ago, I started my YouTube channel. And so on there, I started doing, like talking about manga and stuff, and started doing like manga reviews. Well, I'm trying to think I can't remember like the 100% order events, but anywho, through me doing that, I came across this other channel. Shoot, what I think it's called Meet the Weeb Family. Oh, sorry.
Interesting name.
Uh, why is it not popping up? But anywho, something along those lines of meet the Weeb Family, something like that, and and they basically kind of like introduced me to a bunch of other people within the space. Because I think they might have shared like a video or something I had did on their Instagram, and oh, sorry, because this is just like really gonna irk me
No, no, you're
if
good.
I don't. Yeah, Meet the Weeb Family, and so it's a dad, mom, and their daughter. I think she's a young adult at this point, if I remember correctly. But yeah, but all three of them, they do YouTube videos or whatever, pretty much talking about where they talk about, review manga hauls, all their stuff for their manga collection. And so me connecting with the dad from there, and then yeah, he introduced me to a bunch of other people, or he reshared my stuff, and I got a bunch of follows from people from that, and then I follow them, and then yeah, from there. So now almost like all day, every day, my Instagram feed is just full of just beautiful pictures of various people's manga shelves or their manga hauls and all that stuff. And so that's kind of how that's kind of gone for me, is, and it's been awesome, you know, getting this variety of people, because it is like you said, it's like, hey, okay, like what you talked about earlier, where people are like, man, I wish somebody would be talking about this series. And it's like, hey, we have been talking about it. You just haven't been looking over here. It's like, hey, we're over here, but you're looking to the right,
Mm-hmm.
you know, type of stuff. And it feels like almost like anything that I've posted or whatever, somebody has either like come, oh yeah, I love that series, or at least they're like somewhat aware of it, just because, like I said, of the dozens of people, that I've now connected with, somebody out of the bunch, recognizes something, especially because a lot of these people have collections, either, the size of yours and the, multi hundreds, to there's some people that I've connected with that are like in the thousands,
Oh, absolutely. I've seen
and
them too.
so, yeah, and so that's been just like really awesome of just like, a lot of times if I'm like, okay, let me find somebody that's like either talking about it, or at least like, just like I said, like to kind of get like a temperature gauge on this thing before I buy it. And it's usually, I've usually come across some of these people's YouTube channels and different stuff like that. So yeah, so that's been, yeah, very awesome. Like I said, just like from the Instagram side, as well as the manga podcasting side of things too. So yeah, it's been like super cool.
Mm-hmm. It definitely I definitely need to get into it more and see more people and what they're doing. Um,
Hmm.
because it truly is satisfying getting to see pictures upon pictures of people with like their extensive manga collections and their bookshelves full of books, and it
Yes.
does my heart good seeing all the reading that takes place because of it. um
Yes.
because I will say that's one of the things like with growing up, and this is like a slight tangent, but like
Hmm.
you don't necessarily see people talking about reading regular books as much anymore. So the fact that like there
Yeah.
is such a strong desire for people to not only read manga but collect manga, even if that was, due in part to a pandemic, it is really
Hmm.
great to see people getting into that hobby and building upon it. Um, and
Yes.
I'm excited to continue buying and whatnot. Like I have every intention of, especially once I move and have a house, getting to a collection to a point where like I have over 1,000 copy
Hmm.
or 1,000 volumes of various manga and light novels.
Yes.
And I
Same
definitely
here.
need to do more with light novels too, because they're, again, especially in the last few years, there has just been a boom in
Hmm.
the printing of light novels from Japan that was not a
Hmm.
thing years ago. Like 2 decades ago, you were not going to go into like a Barnes and Noble, a Walden Books, a Borders, and find English copies of Japanese light novels. So we've come a long way, and I'm glad to see where we're at. And even manhwa too. Like manhwa is getting
Yeah.
English printings and physical books. Like it's great. I love seeing this. I love getting to see and collect all these various books, and it's I can't gush about it enough. Like how lucky we are to be in this time that we're in for manga buying. We might not be so lucky
Yes.
about being in this time for other things, but
Oh yeah.
manga
Oh yeah.
buying, we're good. Like we're in a good time, and I
Ye-
can only wish that there were other things that were like digital only right now that would have
mhm.
physical copies. Cough, cough. Tokyo Revengers. But hey, if
Yes.
I have to
Yes.
get
Yes. Yes.
Japanese copies in order to get physical books, I will do it.
Hmm.
I will do it.
Hmm.
Especially since they have like the slip covers with like the different art on the inside. So
Yes.
I will do it if I have to, and I will go through Kinokuniya to do it because I can order it.
Yes. Yeah. That oh, you just kind of just like activate another part of my brain. It's like that's been like another thing, like getting into more deeper into the manga stuff, is, you know that expanding into manhwa, as well as even webtoons as well. It's like I'm hearing about, like more manga, then I hear about more manhwa, and then it also spins into webtoons, and it's like okay, it's like hey people, like about earlier, there is so much to read.
Uh-huh.
Get like you said, get out of your same little, like you said, like the same handful of stuff you've been reading once a week for the last 20 years. There is a overabundance of stuff to read from every genre, theme, culture, whatever. It is out there. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a matter of just like, hey, you know, turn your head over here a little bit and look this way.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see there's like, man, that there's just like so much stuff out there. And a couple of things I want to just kind of touch on real quick too. Uh is the I guess I'll call them the next generation of manga readers. Uh, cause a few points. So, well, I'll start with the ones that's closest to me, and then I'll talk about some podcast stuff. But um, one of my younger nieces, she's what 13. Yeah, my 13 year old niece Lydia. She had I think it was earlier this year or something. We were just talking and catching up, and I'm not like too surprised because I'm her uncle.
Mm-hmm.
But the day when she told me that not only did she watch Promise Neverland, but she had been reading it, my heart was elated.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, you and the fact that she did this on her own, through her friends and stuff, whatever. I was like, oh, okay, y'all are reading manga, or y'all are into it, you know, in y'all early preteens and stuff, whatever. And that was just such an awesome thing, and we had such an awesome just conversation. Like I said, it was like cause like for her siblings, her brothers and sisters, whatever. I've always like put them on like video games and stuff, whatever, cause we all or they grew up around me a lot more. But in recent years, I'm not around them as often. But the fact of like, okay, hey, she still found her way to manga on her own and through her own little friends was super awesome. And there's a buddy of mine from another podcast called Inside the Mind of a Blurred, where he has a daughter who, what, Skylar, I think she just turned 12. She has been getting more into this stuff already. Now I think she reads a little bit or whatever, but I know I guess like she's kind of more on the anime side of things so far. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact that like she is so knowledgeable about the anime and manga stuff, or whatever, to the fact that like for like a long time, people think when they hear like her talk on the podcast and stuff, whatever, people thought that her dad was feeding her information
Jeez. Oh my God.
because yeah, because of how knowledgeable she is. But like I I am one of the people, I got to witness it firsthand myself because they have a little spinoff podcast that that they do, father and daughter, where she's kind of more of the host, and I got to be on that a couple months ago or whatever. And just like the questions she was throwing out, the topics of discussion, the different, you know, just fun like scenario questions and stuff, whatever. It was just because what was one she had asked that was like, it was like that was so good. I've never heard nobody ask me. I think it was oh, it was like Death Note related. It was like if you could have a character from any series be your Shikigami, who would you pick?
Hmm.
And I'm like, huh, that is a freaking fantastic question, you know? Like I said, the fact that she just turned 12 last weekend, but it was her and my niece. Like I said, just kind of just made me happy. Of just like, okay, this next generation, they're already in it, and so just like just kind of just makes me happy. It was like, okay, hey, manga is in good hands foreseeable future, aside from us adults
Yes.
buying up everything. But it's just cool to know like, okay, hey, even the younger people are getting into it and stuff, and it's cool that like us now, our generation are kind of being put, we're adults, we're going to the different positions where we can start putting that stuff more out there, whatever. Because I have a close friend who, because I work in the IT field as my day job, and so my close friend who's also in IT, she does IT at a school district down in East Texas, and so over the years, she has grown out their library to have a pretty huge manga collection. And so now, they're getting students and stuff, whatever, that are, coming in, buying stuff. I think they might have even started like a manga slash anime club thing on campus or whatever. And so
Nice.
it was like this freaking awesome. There's like, okay, me and my friends, like, okay, we're, like I said, at an age now to where it's like, okay, we can help implement decisions. Like, hey, you know what, library person, let's get some of these manga. Let's switch up, the variety of selection in here for the kids. And so yeah, so stuff like that is just so freaking awesome, just to be able to grow and foster these communities. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
just bring it back to communities. Just like, okay, hey, these kids can start their own little communities earlier on, because I know a lot of times I'll hear people um mention on different podcasts and stuff about like how growing up, you know, they were kind of in their own little bubble with the manga stuff that there is. Okay, I'm reading manga, but I don't really have nobody else to talk to, whereas now, it's more widely known and talked about, and with the connectivity of the internet, you can find somebody or a Facebook group, somebody to follow on Instagram, Twitter, whatever, that is talking about this stuff. And that is something that I try to kind of actively go and hunt out, every now and then, to where it's like, okay, I have a new series, that's not the usual, like we said earlier, One Piece, My Hero, etc., etc. This,
Mm-hmm.
hey, okay, there is maybe too much conversation
Right.
going on, to where I'll look up some of these other series, like okay, I just finished reading, volume one of Zom 100. All right, let me just search Twitter and just see. Okay, cool. Somebody had commented they also finished reading it recently, whatever. So hey, let's start a conversation, or even if it's just me commenting like, "Yo, really, hey, I really love the volume two, whatever, or whatever," just to kind of engage, because sometimes I'll come across posts or whatever to where, it was posted months, if not years ago, and no interaction, nobody liked it, nobody commented, and this person was like, yeah, I really love this, I really love the new chapter of, or this new volume of whatever, and they get no response back, which, no, of course, no, it's not necessarily saying that like that they're expecting to get something back, but I think it is always just cool, just knowing that like, okay, there is somebody else out there in the world that is also enjoying this with me as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know sometimes people probably get surprised whenever I like something that is like, because I'm pretty sure I probably like somebody's post that is years old, but hey, when I search for what was it, Emanon, I searched for it and I'm like, well, I saw like a couple posts from this year, but then I saw a post from like 2019. So what? Who cares? I'm gonna like it.
Mm-hmm.
Or hey, I might even, comment on it of like, oh hey, I just read it, love it too. Cause, and I've had people that reach back out and engage after this. Oh, somebody saw this tweet that I thought nobody cared about this series, even though I tweeted this out 3 years ago, you know. So yeah, so that's definitely like something I try to be more active about, with being in the community and stuff, where, like I said, just trying to just foster that conversation, and like I said, just let people know, just because, a lot of times, you just never know who is behind the account. Maybe it is another adult, or it might be like some of us were growing up. It might be a teen, young adult who maybe they're not they're a bit shy or whatever. They don't really have too many people to interact with. I feel like just kind of like trying to break those cycles of just like, okay, I feel like I'm alone. Nobody else is enjoying this. But oh, hey, this random person named Robert on the internet, you know, liked my post and just commented that, oh, hey, they also love it too. Oh, cool. You know. So yeah, that's been like an awesome thing to do and just being part of. Like I said, just kind of growing out into yeah, these different communities and circles and stuff.
Absolutely. Definitely. I'm enjoying seeing the younger generation getting into things, and again,
Mm-hmm.
that's like a major part of again why I'm building the as big of a collection as I am, just so I can
Mm-hmm.
eventually pass it on to my own kids or
Yeah.
other members of my family, or especially my friends and their family and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely hear you
Mm-hmm.
there, and it sounds really cool that that school is getting more manga and whatnot to get their kids involved and whatnot. So
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes. For real. Yeah, I think one last little thing I want to say. One thing I'm not too worried about doing it right now because I have all the digital copies of the series, but my eventual goal, especially like hopefully I move into a actual proper home, I want to collect all of Trigun/Trigun Maximum because that series, the Trigun series, holds a very special place in my heart because for one, I've just always loved it and stuff growing up. But now, as a dad, I have a even closer relationship with that name or with that series because so people that see some of my online handles, I started using recently Father of Vash. So that name is very literal. My son, my youngest son, he's 3 about to be 4, his name is Vash. And so I am wanting to collect those, not just for myself, but also for someday when he gets older, for him to be able to read it and to be like, hey, this is where your name comes from,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like just to help foster and build that connection because like I said, I think a year and some change ago or whatever, I had bought them all digitally. I still need to finish like the last like couple. I think I'm like 2 volumes away from being fully done reading it, but I think I want to kind of go through and like do like a full reread through it or whatever. And I think maybe the next time I do that, I might center it around his birthday because I think it'd be kind of cool to do like a themed thing around his birthday. Like, okay, hey, I'm celebrating his birthday as well as the series together. So that might be something I might do in the next year or so. But yeah, that's kind of like my big manga goal I want to do is to collect all of physical Trigun. And I guess I'll kind of throw that to you because I know we're probably about to wrap up. Is there, I guess, like a golden goose of like, hey, there's a series that assuming that you haven't already done, collected it or whatever, is there a series that maybe has like a special meaning or a connection to you that you're like, okay, I want to hunt down all of this if possible and have it in my.
Sure. So I think well, one of the golden gooses that I was already able to catch was Shaman King, and getting the
Mhm,
full original English
mhm,
release for it, which did not cover
mhm.
everything from the manga. So I'm still waiting on Kodansha to go through with all of their like collected books to get like the final one just to add it to the collection.
Okay.
Even though it'll look a little odd in comparison, but it is what it is.
Oh yeah.
And I do hope that we eventually get the English releases for the Shaman King sequels, but I'm not
Mm.
necessarily holding my breath on that, I will
Yeah.
admit. Um, I would eventually like to collect all of Rave Master as well, like I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, because that
Mm-hmm.
is still my favorite Hiro Mashima series, just period.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
love it over Fairy Tail, and Eden Zero I love over Fairy Tail, but I don't know that I love Eden Zero over Fairy or Rave Master yet, just because of how much
Yeah.
I love it. Um, Other than that, uh, what else would I like to get? I will definitely be happy when I have all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure,
Mm-hmm.
in physical form.
Mm-hmm.
They just printed the first volume of Part 5, and I need to
Yeah.
finish collecting Part 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then other than that, uh, I think if there was one other thing that I would like to collect, probably it would be getting the entire original run. Well, not necessarily the original run, but the complete series for the Yu-Gi-Oh manga, the original one, not like
Yeah.
GX or whatnot, but like the original
Mm-hmm.
Yu-Gi-Oh series, just because that
Mm-hmm.
series was a big part of my childhood.
Yeah.
Growing up playing the card game, eventually growing out of the card game, mostly because it got too complicated and expensive. But like I love the original Yu-Gi-Oh story, so I think to get
Yeah.
that in manga form would be great as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah,
Awesome.
I think those would be some of the golden gooses for sure for me. And
Mm-hmm.
like there are obviously other series that I want to collect as well.
Mm-hmm.
But those would definitely be some of the ones that are kind of like at the top of my list, I would definitely say.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think otherwise that wraps up everything that I had on my end. Was there anything else that you wanted to say before we kind of started to wrap things up?
Um, I think I don't know. I guess just kind of just but before we do like the full wrap up and I mention my stuff, whatever. I guess I just want to say just like, hey, anybody out there that's listening to this, uh, get out there, explore, like we talked about multiple times throughout this conversation. Broaden your horizons, like Axel said. Take a chance on something. It's like, you know what? This looks cool. The synopsis sounds cool. Just try it, because hey, worst case scenario, just hey, you bought the one volume, maybe you didn't like it. Okay, not too big of a loss. But hey, what if there's the chance where you do love it? Now you have something else new to explore and to branch off to. But yeah, that probably like be my last thing to say is just like, hey, get out there, read manga, find manga. If you have the ability to go to a physical location, like what me and Axel has talked about a lot today, go out there and do it. Just take your time. I would say for sure to anybody that is physically manga buying, try to do it when you have at least I would say at least like minimum an hour. That way you're not just trying to rush or whatever, and not getting to enjoy it. Of course, hey, there's been times where like, hey, I just gotta run in, grab this and get out. But majority of the time when I go manga shopping, I try to have a clear schedule, at least like a clear window of at least like an hour and some change, just because I want to be able to just sit there, take my time, and just comb through the shelves. Because there's been times where I start at A, get to Z, and then I go back through Z to A, and then that third time I catch something I didn't catch the other four times I walked through the area, and stuff. So, oh, and piece of advice for the locations, whether it's Barnes and Nobles, Books a Million, Half Price Books, whatever, search the whole store. Because I have been learning more and more recently, they have stuff in multiple spots. They might only have one section marked manga, but somewhere else in the store, I guarantee you, there will be other stuff. Like today, the first half price book I went to earlier today, whatever, they had a little section, and then I kind of just walked around a little bit or whatever, and then came back in the next row over, next to the video games or whatever. They had a glass case with some more like higher priced manga in it, and some of them were the missing volumes from the other shelf. Because like there was like some series I saw, I think it was called like Border or something or whatever, and I saw like volumes, like 2 through 5 or whatever. And but hey, it's half price books. I'm like, oh, no, that's not too odd for volume one or missing volumes to not be there. But nope, volume one was the next row over and a glass case.
Mm-hmm.
So, and same thing with Books a Million. Gone there, they have the pretty nice section, but in the back of the store, they had a little table with newer releases.
Mm-hmm.
So people would come in, it was like, oh man, I can't find, volume 14 of Horror Mia or whatever. Volume 14 is over on that little shelf with a bunch of other new stuff that you're probably looking for too. So yeah, so just like I said, that's where the whole have time to comb through the store. So don't just focus on, oh, you just see the one sign that says manga. Browse around and look, because sometimes people put stuff in weird places. There's a little unmarked table in the corner. So take your time, browse around, soak it in.
And don't be afraid to ask questions too, because like
Yes.
sometimes they might literally have just gotten something in and just haven't put it on the shelf yet. And other times, while they might not have it in store, they might be able to special order it or something. I mean, that was,
Mm-hmm.
again, my experience through Kinokuniya, where they didn't
Mm-hmm.
have specific Japanese volumes that I wanted to get. Always ask questions if you're unsure. Like, yes, you can go online for certain things as well, but sometimes talking to an actual store employee will help you out better. But by all
Yep.
means, do broaden your horizons, because we are in a time where there are so many options out there, especially out the weekly Shonen Jump bubble, that so many
Yeah.
people are used to staying in. Like, there are options. Feel free to explore. Like, and you might just find your new favorite series by taking a chance on something. It's just how it is. Um,
Yep.
well, that being
100%.
said, Rob, I want to thank you for being on the podcast here, and I'm gonna give you the floor so you can give your plug to whatever brave souls are still here with us an hour and 40 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Axel, for having me on. This has been a super awesome conversation. Just us just gushing about our love of manga. I hope anybody that is, like you said, that is here still listening, and enjoy the conversation and stuff as well. If you want to hear more of my stuff and what I do, so my stuff, my podcast, my YouTube channel, it's all under the name Dad Needs to Talk. And so with that, I cover everything related to, or primarily focused around fatherhood and family, manga, anime slash general TV shows, video games, and whatever else might come my way. But yeah, I do, like I said, I do a podcast called Dad Needs to Talk, and I also have a YouTube channel also called Dad Needs to Talk that kind of, I am still molding and shaping it because it's still fairly new. But right now, I've been doing a lot of manga reviews on that as well as just some general discussions and stuff as well. So every pretty much everywhere you look on all social media, everything should be under Dad Needs to Talk or Dad Needs to Talk podcast. Worst case scenario, you can always go to my website, dadneedstotalk.com, because that is the central hub for everything that I do. So if you maybe missed something, didn't get a social media handle, all that stuff is on my website for my Twitter, Instagram, YouTube channel, etc., etc. I'll be always happy to engage in conversations with manga with anybody out there that wants to talk about manga. Hit me up. I'm always down to talk.
Absolutely. And all the links will definitely be in the description down below for anyone that wants to follow. So I will make sure that is there.
Thank
Um,
you.
and once again, yeah, thank you for being here. Like I said, absolutely fun conversation. Not enough people talk about physical manga buying, so I
Mm-hmm.
hope this has been an enjoyable experience, if not resourceful, for
Mm-hmm.
anybody interested in the topic. Um, Otherwise, once again, for anyone that is an hour and 44 minutes into this podcast, thank you for being here. If you are not subscribed already, wow, kind of crazy. Consider subscribing to my channel for sure. If you like these podcasts, if you like this topic and you want to see more like it in the future, hit that like button. If you want to listen to this on Spotify and you're listening to it right now on YouTube, I have the link to my Spotify channel down in the description. If you are listening to this on Spotify and you want to check out my YouTube channel, the link is down in the description. Otherwise, for now, my name is Axel Blaze. Thank you all for being here. Take a chance, go out there, buy some new manga, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye, everybody.